Hi, and welcome to my 3 a.m. diaries. And people, this is such a whole new feeling for me, like being able to do this at different times, like have the advantage of some natural light, it's, yeah, interesting times, people, interesting times. Self-isolation, right? And speaking of, what happened to 2020? Like you've just like clearly gone off the railroad. I don't even know. It's like so many strange things and so many emotions floating out there, like there's fear, there's anger, there's anxiety, and on some level some people are just feeling helpless, others are feeling numb. There's also a feeling of don't care, things like this, like going through something like this, really it can play havoc on your emotions. So, on a global macro level, this is where our leaders and leadership are really being put under the microscope. What sort of policies and procedures do they have in place? Are they reacting quickly enough, with enough impact? Are they mobilizing resources where they're needed, when they're needed? The infrastructure, is that in place? And actually, before we even cover all this, let's just start with communication. Oh my gosh, like at this point in time, we just need the leaders to come through with some clear, concise, and accurate information. And I feel like that will go a long way in just making people feel more confident and a bit more calm, because at the moment a lot of these emotions that people are experiencing is because some of the information that's coming through is either not correct, or it's contradicting itself, or it just feels like a marketing ploy, so really I feel communication right now just needs to be delivered properly. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because I am not about to get political. That is not my lane, so let me quickly get off it. So before I proceed, I'm just gonna put a huge disclaimer out there. I am just one of those ridiculously, relentlessly optimistic people, right? Like, I'm one of these people who's just constantly looking for the silver lining in every cloud. And that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the gravity of situations or process emotions. Like I do. When something happens, I'll think about it, I'll go through whatever emotions I need to go through and process. And then when I come out at the end of that, I'm then looking at, okay, where is the good in whatever has happened? And it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens often enough that, yeah, I can wear that badge of relentless optimist. Okay, so now we know, and that sets me up for what I wanted to talk about today. With everything that's happening at the moment with the social distancing and self-isolation, it does feel like, or rather it is things that are beyond our control, but we do have some control. We can control how we choose to access, process the information, how we choose to feel and pass things along. So that got me thinking about a couple of things, and these things are our social obligation and our self-responsibility. Now, those are two things that we absolutely have control over. So, what is our social obligation to each other? Right? One of the first things is, let's just watch the kind of information and news that we are spreading. Because at the moment, there's so much information that is floating around, some of it accurate, some of it inaccurate. And because we are so hungry to learn more about this pandemic, we are sharing that information in the hope that things come to light, or we get clearer about what's going on. However, I'd just like us to take a moment, and before you pass something along, if it just looks a bit fishy or you're not sure, pause before you pass it along. Or if you can, maybe sense check it a little bit, have a look around, like what are other people saying, what are the experts saying about this topic before you pass that information along, And I came across this really interesting resource on Wikipedia. It's called Wikiproject Medicine. And essentially what they have on there are doctors who are coming on and looking at information and pretty much picking it apart for its accuracy. And if anything's not accurate, it's taken off that. So I thought this is really good, especially, as I said, in this time where we are looking for information to help us cope with what we are going through. So that could be a little thing that you could do. And if it's something where you're not sure and you can't find any more information, maybe don't pass it along, you know? And because, for example, for the most part, you could be one of those people who you can process information without it causing any sort of anxiety, like you're not taking it personally, but you don't know who down that chain receives that information, and it just causes levels of anxiety that you cannot even begin to imagine. So let's be our brothers and sisters keeper. That's something that we can easily take responsibility over. And then the other thing is, what comments are we making? How are we commenting? How are we conducting ourselves on social media at the moment? Because people have a lot of time. As I said, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of feelings. So just be mindful before you go on there and put some negative comments or whatever. Just think twice. You know, it's something really little, but just take a pause and just think, is this helpful? Is it informative? You know, and if it's not, then, you know, just practice a little bit of self-restraint. And the other thing is, just do the right thing. Stay at home, right? If you don't need to be out there, don't go out. And if you do, follow something that I heard the CNN chief medical respondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, say, and which was, act as though you already have the virus. So that means as you go outside, you'll be more mindful about how you're interacting with people. You know, you'll keep the required social distancing. You'll be mindful about what you're touching, how you're interacting with people, and things like that. So, and for the most part, like more and more information is coming out about how you could potentially have the virus but not have the symptoms, or the symptoms might be mild. So if we went about our business as though we were carrying the virus, I think this could be really a significant step in preventing the spread. Yeah. And then the other thing is, when you do have to go out there and, you know, for your essentials and things like that, avoid that false bravado, you know, like, yeah, I'm young, I'm healthy, my job is secure, like, yeah, even if I get it, I'll be okay. Yes, and for the most part, you will be. But how about for those people who, even on one of those things that I've mentioned, are the complete opposite of you? And contracting this virus would have a much bigger impact than it would on your life. So let's just be mindful. Let's be our brothers and sisters keeper and have a social obligation, like little things that we have control over that can avoid spreading this pandemic. Cool. Just listened to myself right there, and I was like, right, I just potentially just need a cake to go. Stay home. Do not touch anything. Don't be... But you know what? It is a strange time, and I guess every little bit counts, you know? And so one thing that I noticed, you know, like as I've been going out to do essential stuff is, you know how like we are constantly handling our phones, like you're mindful about what you're touching, but we have our phones in our hands, you know? And then what do? Yep, we bring them to our faces. And that's exactly what we're being told to avoid. So the minute like I picked up on that habit, what I've been doing is like one simple thing, because I like to use the Apple Pay on my phone to tap for payments. So what I do now instead is I've just reverted to using my card, because then I can put it in one pocket. I know it's the one card that I'm using and tap everything, and that means I avoid using my phone unnecessarily. And then when I get back into the house, as you're doing the normal, you know, wash your hands and all that stuff, what I'm also doing is disinfecting my phone, you know? So just simple little things that you can do to look after yourself. Cool? Right. So that's it about social obligation. And then now I just wanted to quickly run through like our self-responsibility. Again, just coming down to things that we have control over, that we don't have to wait for someone to dictate to us about, right? So, and with social responsibility, with self-responsibility, I guess take it one day at a time. And I know that sounds really simple, but it's the most any one of us can do, just one day at a time. And one thing that I've found has been helping me is find a routine. So just do something every day that gives you a sense of purpose or accomplishment. It could be something as simple as making your bed. So just wake up in the morning, make your bed, take a shower, just a routine that will just make you feel, as I said, just good about yourself, right? The other thing is be informed, but don't go down rabbit holes, right? Like it's so easy at the moment, where you'll start looking at one thing and just keep going through information, and the further down you go, like the more overwhelming it can become. So maybe what you can do is just set certain times in the day, maybe morning and evening, just check the news, keep informed, know what's going on, just in case there's something that you need to be aware of, an action that you need to be taking. So keep yourself informed, but not drowning in the amount of information that's out there. Okay. Then the other thing you can also do is create boundaries around yourself, because as I mentioned, like there's so much information that's being shared, accurate, inaccurate, and the like. So maybe if you identify people who are sharing things that are triggering you or sites that are triggering, don't go there. We have the ability to block and mute some of these things and use that. Like our mental states and our emotions at the moment are so fragile. So anything that you can do to protect your mental state of health, highly recommend. So in creating boundaries, like for example, I did this to myself. There was a post, there's this person who's been posting things, and there was one particular post, and I knew, like I really shouldn't have gone in there. But you know what? Curiosity, and I found myself there and immediately regretted it, because whatever I saw there just made me feel so yucky. Like even right now when I think about it, it's just giving me all sorts of things. I haven't been able to completely shake it off. So I just went and I've muted anything that's coming from this person, and it's not personal, it's just that right now I need to be at the forefront of whatever information I'm receiving. And after all this passes, and it will pass, I will unmute, but for the minute, like that kind of information that's being shared is not doing me any favors. Okay. And then we have so much time on our hands. So there could be so many things that you've been wanting to do and just haven't had the time. This is your time. Just get out there, do stuff. Could be like maybe rearranging your closet, some hobbies that you've put to the side because again you didn't have the time. Now you've got the time, pursue those things. Like at the moment my creative brain is just going crazy. There's so many things I want to do. I'm just like, oh, maybe I could pick up and polish on my drawing, which has never been that good. So maybe this is the time to get better. I want to dance some more, create some new choreography, because there was once a friend pointed out, like when you're dancing and when you're creating steps, it really activates your brain and makes you even more creative. Actually, I don't even know if I really want to be more creative right now, but you know what? I feel like dancing, so that's one of the other things I'm gonna do. And then finally, so that I can get out of your hair, is communicate. Keep lines of communication open. Right now it might feel like you're okay, but it's still early days yet, and we don't know how much more of this we've got. So communicate, even if it's just sending out emojis, just touch base with people, because right now you might not be missing that human interaction, but a time will come when you'll be like, oh my gosh, I just miss going out there and seeing people, seeing expressions and all that jazz. Introverts might be loving it right now, but a time will come when they too will crave what extroverts are wanting. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share today in my 3 a.m. daylight diaries. And yeah, that's it. I am going to close it off there, and ciao.